Crabgrass in New Jersey, the exact timing window, and what happens if you missed it. Crabgrass is one of those lawn problems that feels very sudden. Your lawn looks fine, and then a few hot weeks later, the areas can be taken over by a lighter green, fast spreading grass. The good news is if you are in New Jersey, you could still get this grassy weed under control. It's just going to be a lot about timing and turf density. So there's a couple options that we will go over. This guide is going to cover the NJ timing window, along with the best signals to watch for, and just a good practical plan if you're a little bit late. First, crabgrass. What is it? And why it shows up in your lawn and where it shows up in your lawn. So, crabgrass is a summer annual weed. It germinates in the springtime, spreads aggressively in the summer, drops a seed, and then dies off in the frost, leaving thinner bare spots that invite it right back next year. So it's a pretty rapidly spreading grass, very big problem, especially in untreated yards. You're going to see that it's a lot in a very thin lawn. It's a very it's very problematic in compacted soils. So especially if the kiddos are playing in the yard all the time, or you're at a sports field environment where you're creating a lot of compaction, you're going to see a lot of areas that are going to be overtaken by crabgrass. So making sure that you keep the lawn well fed so it's not thin, and make sure you're doing your aeration and your composting will help some of that. And definitely a lot of stressed areas as well. So drought areas, low fertility, mowing too short will create all of those environments. The NJ timing window in the central and north versus the south honestly really doesn't change. We don't see that much of a weather difference. You're going to want to get your crabgrass prevention out in early March to mid-April, somewhere about there. Whether you're in northern or southern Jersey, you just making sure it's key that you get out your barrier before it's 55 degrees is going to be definitely a must in order to have a good preventative program. And there's a couple reliable timing cues out there. One of the main ones that we use a lot, it's been always been this, is the Forsythia in full bloom. So right now you're just starting to see some bud break. That's not full bloom. You're basically, once that Forsythia, that yellow bush, is in full bloom, that's kind of your indication that your soil temperatures have reached just about an optimal level for crabgrass germination. There are a couple other local things like south-facing slopes. They warm a little bit quicker. Again, the key here is that the crabgrass needs soil heat or 55-degree temperature in order to start germinating. So, what's a simple timing game plan for New Jersey? You'll be able to see here, your lawn situation versus your best approach. Your lawn usually gets crabgrass every year. The best approach is to apply a pre-emergent early for a strong turf plan. What's very key is that you're getting your fertilizer out at the right times. And if you're if you want to play a little bit of a strategy game, we apply most of our fertilizer in the fall time, a little bit less in the spring, and then we take care of our pre-emergence early in the season. If you're on a sandy soil, they recommend a split application, which we practice here anyway. Split applications, I think, are definitely going to provide a little bit better of a result. This way, if you make an application earlier on in the season and maybe the granular moves a little bit with some type of heavy rain, whatever the case may be, poor drainage, when you do that second application, you're just kind of closing that up and recovering up that barrier. So we like a split application here. And if you plan to seed soon, so just be careful. Most pre-emergents do not work with seed at all. Many pre-emergents are going to prevent grass seed from germinating. So make sure you're not doing both of those. What if you missed the spring window? So missing the perfect pre-emergent timing is very common, especially in New Jersey. Springs, have a kind of a big swing from warm to cold. What you don't want to do, and this is the number one thing I think, is don't scalp the lawn. Turf density is very much key here. You want to raise your mowing height. Crabgrass loves sunlight and bare soil, so the taller canopy that you can grow, you're going to end up shading that surface, and it favors cool season turf. Step two is scout in mid June and act early. So if you see some small crabgrass plants popping up in mid-June and you didn't apply a pre-emergent, it's much easier to control a smaller plant than a well-matured plant. So just get out there and do a little bit of monitoring and see if you can find some crabgrass plants out there. Step three, there's a little bit of a late control option out there. It's called dithiopyr, and that's an active ingredient of the product. It is a crabgrass control that has pre-emergent activity and post-emergent activity. Um, I think it's better when it's sprayed. I think there are a lot of products out there that are in a granular form that I think, if you are going to apply a granular dithiopyr product, that the actual material needs to come and sit on the actual crabgrass leaf in order to get good effective control. So you do need to use pretty high rates of that product, but that is an option if you are a little bit late to the game. You can use a dithiopyr. Step number four is don't seed into a herbicide barrier. If you're tempted to seed bare spots in the springtime, most pre-emergents will block the grass seed. Rutgers cautions do not apply the listed pre-emergents if you plan to seed soon. Make sure you follow the product label, and it will have a lot more information on you. So my little take on this is it is most important in the springtime to get your pre-emergents out. If you do need to spot seed areas, what you're going to do actually is apply your pre-emergent down first. And then when the ideal timing for seeding is, usually when temperatures warm up a bit, you could put some topsoil and seed mixture combo together, like in a wheelbarrow, something like that, and just sprinkle it on the areas that need to get seeded. Because the key is that you're not using exposed soil for the new germinating seeds. So, furthermore, you're going to get a little bit better success on that. So, definitely hold off on your seeding. Most important, get your pre-emergence down now. Step five is win the long game in the late summer and early fall. Rutgers points out that in late summer, early fall, seeding is a valuable practice in lawns with severe crabgrass because it fills in the voids when the crabgrass dies and creates a dense canopy to reduce weed survival for the next spring. Totally, totally, totally key here. You want to make sure you're doing your aeration, your seeding, your renovation work in the fall, mature that plant up so you already are coming out of the spring with turf density. I can't see how many homeowners make that mistake. They think that spring is the time to do all that, and it's the complete opposite. It's actually the fall time. So, quick checklist how to prevent the crabgrass next year. You're going to want to apply a prevention before the NJ germination timing window. So, this is actually saying early to mid April. I would say to get out in March if possible with the weather. And you're going to want to wrap up your pre-emergence, your first pre-emergent application sometime in mid-April. You can use the Forsythia bloom as your kind of real world cue out there. Water products in, it's definitely key that you're watering everything in to get really good coverage, and you're going to want to build density. So, proper mowing height, watering, nutrition, those are all key. Don't skimp out on that. You basically need to make sure that the plant is well fed. And when it makes sense to call a pro or someone like myself, you can obviously call us at any time. We can go over some of the strategies that we have in place for good return on your investment on your crabgrass pre-emergence. And I can come over and give you some good timing and just some good products and, just a little bit of tips and tricks we use over here. So hope you enjoyed this blog and stay tuned for the next one.